We're going to start. Great, recording is in progress. Welcome, thank you for coming, everyone. Would anyone like to speak to privilege of the floor? If so, please raise your hand if you're on screen, or just wave at me if you're in the room. Yes,
Do you have some up there yet?
I don't.
Please up there.
I don't see anybody on there who says they want to speak. So if you would like to speak, if you want to be seen and if you stand there, then we can, people on screen will be able to see you if you stand right about there.
Ken Miller, and I'm here to represent myself and a lot of people of this town. What I'd like to do is remind this commission about a little bit about the comprehensive plan. On the first page, it says people of all identities, including but not limited to race, gender, sexual orientation, age, religion, disability, national origin, or veteran status. I don't know why they didn't put farmers in there. Are safe, welcome, and valued. The support and neighborhood ethos of a small rural community is extended to all residents, as the town recognizes the value that diversity of all identity brings. The town is actively engaged in anti-racist initiatives and policies to guide town decisions. I happen to be a farmer, and I'm also a veteran. And I feel that I have been disgracefully discriminated against with my property. Not only is this sentence that I just read on that page, the first page of the comprehensive plan, the 20-year vision, the first bullet is the same thing. And the problem I have is that, and this is my page. In the comprehensive plan, it says that the farming is well and alive. It's not. It has declined in this town. All right, and to save themselves, farmers usually will try to sell one of the worst pieces of land that they have. It's just common for years. You can ask Cal here. He knows pretty much all about that. I won't belabor that, so I can keep on moving. But the farms have declined. Mine was in terrible shape. When an output came along, and then in this comprehensive plan, there was a store that came along, asked for the possibility if I'd sell some land. Well, I got some land right up on 79. That would be perfect. People decided that it wouldn't in the neighborhood, but they didn't even know where it was going and had no idea where it would be. But in the comprehensive plan, it does say that there's relatively less growth over the last 15 years. And one of the sentences, as noted above, over the last 15 years, growth in Caroline primarily has been residential, not commercial. And I had sent an email to the two boards, or the commission and the board, because I looked at this draft of that the committee has made with Bessemer Hamlet, and it's so small that I couldn't tell that one part of what I own was not in that hamlet, but there is a small part, that hamlet, in some 30 acres that I own, and it's hard to tell just how much of that. And I wanted that out. I sent an email to both boards asking that I be out of that and be in a large commercial.
Mhm.
And
You have about 30 seconds left.
And Bill on the commission said, well, we can't be because we already did get rid of the Dollar General that was going to possibly be placed in there. Since the moratorium, they canceled all their contracts with myself. And Jean said at that meeting that she would be talking to me about this situation. Never heard from her. So I sent another email.
Mhm.
And then did finally get an answer after the second one, telling me that she was sorry, but there was stuff that she had to take care of. That one of her relatives, a niece, had an aneurysm, and I understand, I empathize with her, how that can affect somebody. But I have to say that I've suffered with headaches, heartache, and upset stomachs over the fact that I'm trying to keep my farm and how hard it is to work on it and keep it going.
Could you wrap this up, please?
I will try to. It's been said that there are a lot of houses across from there, and yet I see down the road, other commercial places have houses right across from it that you can actually see. So I'll try to, I'm asking you, well, there's one more point. When Renee Farrow, had a time to do a public comment, she said that the best places were down east of town. And that when I look on the map, those are pretty much in prime agricultural land, where my land is not. And so I'd like to give the board, I'd like to give them to Bruce. He's probably got them before, but I'd like those emails read into the record and the answer to them. And I want to put right here on the table, someone that can show me where the houses are, I'd sure appreciate it, that are across the road from my piece of land where potential commercial piece of property can be.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you. Let me just say two things. I do remember you're coming to the public information meeting, but I never got your name, which is why I wasn't able to contact you, and I kept asking people who they were, and I announced that at this meeting several times, but I didn't have your email, and I didn't know your name. When I did get your email, I did respond, and we actually are talking about the commercial areas on Route 79 again tonight, and I hope we will make some decisions. So let us see if we can get to that point in the agenda tonight. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? I see none. Hearing none, we will move ahead. If you give it to me, I will put it into the minutes of the meeting. For today.
Can I ask you how many, you said that you responded, how many times?
Once,
Answered, but just the one.
because I didn't have your email. I didn't realize that you were the same person from the public information meeting. I never got the meeting. I asked several times if someone who asked that question would come up and give me his email. And you may have left by that time.
It's unfortunate, but on Tuesday nights, I had the first, second, and fourth where I have meetings.
Ah.
The only reason I was able to come tonight is it's the third.
I totally understand. So,
Bill has his hand.
who has his hand up?
Bill.
Bill? Bill, I think you
Yeah,
might on because you were mentioned.
well, no, and that's fine. I was not responding. I was mentioned. I think, I understand what Ken was referring to is I noted that was a parcel that had been proposed for development. But I don't think I said quite what he said, but that's not why I have my hand up. I have my hand up because regarding the agenda, I did not know if we wanted to insert an item somewhere regarding the water resources overlay information that I and others have been working on. And if we did, I just,
Yes,
in particular, I would, okay, so we can, it's basically talking about some topics and things about the video. So if we want to put that in, I don't know where to put it in, but that's the question.
I did. I sent out a second or third edition of the agenda. And that
Yeah.
agenda has number 5, discuss revisions of section 5.3 water resources and flooding overlay district. And that would include what you had sent. Is that
Okay. I did not realize that would include that. So now I understand. Thank you.
Okay, great. Bruce,
Not further before, but I'd like to go back to an email that I sent on 9/29
yep,
and asked that there was 3 out of the 6 zoning commission members had thoughts on conservation subdivisions after Nan's 3 papers were given to us to read. And I said, why wouldn't we discuss them again? And, if you're reading the research and it has no bearing on what we're doing, then why are we doing it? Sorry, but it didn't seem that, then I just said, that I thought maybe we should discuss it again and not said a word about it.
okay, I put that, I think I put in your email into the minutes of the 29.
I think that was different.
No, I believe that was the same email. I could be wrong, but do you have those?
Yeah, that's the one you put in,
Okay, maybe,
which is different.
okay, then I
No,
misunderstood what you wanted me to talking about.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to add something to this tonight if you want to do that.
no, this is the one that you put in.
Yes,
Is the one I asked you to put in,
okay,
but you added, all these definitions or whatever. It wasn't really what I said.
well, I was trying to bring it up to date about what happened.
Yeah, okay, well, it's supposed to be the word what I said. It's not supposed to be.
It is for word, what you
Not
said,
supposed to
except
be
it-
edited.
it's not edited, it has a parenthetical expression after it to bring it up, it's not edited.
Okay. But no, this was a totally different email.
Okay, I
was
I
done.
completely missed that, so you want to talk about conservation subdivision?
Yeah, I thought we should.
Okay, so let us,
Ernie had some stuff, you said you had second thoughts. We read the 3 papers that Nan put out, nobody said a whole lot about any of them other than.
I will put that included item 6 tonight, conservation subdivision.
Okay, that was great,
Okay,
thank you.
is there anything else for the agenda? Here,
No, just a reminder, I think, so conservation subdivisions are in article which?
they're in Article 5 through
6,
6.
Okay,
6.5.12.
all right, thank you.
We're gonna discuss the
Yeah,
contribution.
okay. So let us do approval of the minutes of October 4th, which is the one we delayed last week because I wanted to make sure that you saw what I had inserted. Could someone, and of the 11th, could someone move both of those? Oh, someone be nice and raise your hand. Thank you, Michelle. And second? Barb? I will ask for approval of the minutes of October 4th. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. They pass. And of October 11th? All in favor?
Did you said you're gonna make the corrections that I sent in. Has that been done?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
I just wasn't here, so
Okay, so you can abstain.
I didn't study.
You look abstention. Tim Murray sent me an email saying he could not be here tonight because he had a work commitment. We'll just ask Mark, is there anything that you want to report from the town?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Thank you.
my favorite kind of. Okay, articles 7 and 8, site plan review and special use. permits. So I can put up the doc, if that would be useful. So let me do that.
Articles 5 and 7 and 8 are
We're 7 and 8, site plan review and special use permits, right? Isn't that what we need to do? Those are the ones we need to finish up.
That's on our agenda, I believe, right?
Yes, right.
The agenda is
Okay.
different.
Yeah, I just want to let, I made sure that all of the changes that were on the Google Doc are now incorporated into the master Word doc. So you'll see that the edits that we handled were checked off. I wasn't sure whether you all had, I didn't go back to look at the minutes about whether you had finished the abbreviated site plan review section or not. So that was the only place that I wasn't sure whether you had gotten to that yet or not.
Okay, so let's get there and we'll talk about that.
So where are we starting to?
I am gonna share this document.
Where are we starting? Well, there were other things before that. I just wanted to make sure that you,
Right,
there's several sections before you get to the abbreviated that you had to go back and revisit.
yes, but we're gonna do Article 7 and 8 first, and then we're gonna go to the outstanding issues from Articles 5 through 14. So we're gonna do 7 and 8 first, just to make sure, because those are the ones that have not been gone over in,
I'm on page 60 right now, but I'm just kind of, I think we're around in there.
I think that's exactly where we are. We get to 60 and fine.
So you change
So,
agenda again?
And this is the agenda you can share.
So the commercial is down.
Commercial down there.
so I think what Nan was asking about is that, so I think is that we have various pieces of Article 7 that we need to circle back to. Is that what we're starting with? Which would be 7.2.c, if I'm looking at your list properly, Jean?
Yes, because these are the ones that we have not really done in detail in 7 and 8. The rest we did in great detail, but we have not completely, there were a couple of outstanding things. So I wanted to go back and do 7 and 8 first, just so that we,
Right, but I guess I'm saying, I don't think we need to go line by line through Article 7. I think we have a list of hot
Yeah.
points
Yeah.
to hit.
yes,
Yeah, it was 7.2C, the applicability.
Right.
exactly. I'm almost there, sorry.
And unfortunately, we might need actually is Nan's Word document where she has some good comments. I don't know if those are all are they in the Google Doc also, Nan? I don't think so, right?
I don't know. I can put the Word document up if you want it. I think,
Well, I'll leave that to Jean.
yeah, you're almost there.
I am.
All right, right there.
See, okay, does everyone see this? Yes, it's on the screen. 7.2C, this is applicability. So let's do these and because these are the ones that have not gone over in detail yet. All uses identified in table 1 of Article 4 shall require site plan review and approval by the review board. And then we had this issue about how many square feet. So my recollection is that we had, are we all happy with that, about Article 1, about C and applicability?
Well, no, because the point is that commercial uses now of any size, if they're in the use table, need review. And again, it was Nan's judgment that there isn't any commercial use that doesn't get site plan review in the use table. So this particular point of number 1 is now obsolete.
We get rid of this?
Well, I think if you look at, yeah, I mean, you can go line by line. I think a lot of those are the use table now addresses, that was before we had a use table.
Right,
Yeah, I thought most of these were in fact
Right.
addressed, and there's like 2 that aren't, so.
Yeah,
and-
Right.
yeah. Nan identified 2 that weren't and 2 that could use some discussion or partial entry. And that's why I'm wondering if we should just take a look at Nan's document. I could put that up if we want.
that would be good, and
Um,
I will take mine down and I will stop my share and you can start.
Okay, or Nan, do you want to? Do you have it handy? I can find it certainly. If you don't
You
have it
mean the
handy,
Word
yeah,
document?
the Word document,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I have it right here.
Okay, that might be simpler because that way you edit it and you have it rather than me editing it and me sending it to you.
So this is
Okay,
the applicability.
Oh, but you don't have your comments on that one.
Oh, you don't see the comments on the side?
No, you had one in which you basically had annotated this list. That's what I was thinking of. You know, if
Oh,
you-
that file. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
I just thought I thought that would save us time. That's all.
yeah,
And-
sorry.
That's good.
And I can pull that up. I know I have it here somewhere.
Yeah, I do too. Whoever gets to it first.
No, I'm not going to erase here. You got fast fingers.
Um,
we're on the same section, Article 7.
What's the title?
You're on the.
Yeah, I'm on the old authorizing warranty two, page 42. No, this is, no, it's not. Special use permit, what we're talking about?
all right, I got it, Bill.
Okay,
Right.
So,
All right, let's try again.
Okay. It's the authorization to the review
Yeah.
board exemptions and applicability, in site plan review.
All right, so as you can see, Nan has, taken a look and has suggested that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, at least 7
7.
are all already covered by the use table. So unless someone disagrees with some point there, I think those can all go.
I agree. I read this and I thought that was apt. And making this document shorter seems like a good idea. It's all covered elsewhere, except for number 1, number 4, and number 6. Is that right?
Not sure what you're saying. 1 through 7 is what we're about to get rid of.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not reading the numbers correctly. So we're gonna get rid of 1 through 7.
I agree. Do it.
Yeah.
I think that totally works.
So for discussion, is this question about staging, storage, and parking?
What we're talking about is all of this stuff here in this list. is- We had done it, but Nan went back and said, these are all covered in the use plan, so we don't really need to have them again. So we're getting rid of basically number 1 through 7. And then go on with 8 is staging, storage, and parking areas.
So that one, you don't have a line item just called staging, storage, or parking areas in your use table. So that you could add it to the use table, or you could add in the site plan section, you could add the language that everything that requires site plan review from the use table and these other things. And if you feel that, someone wants to do some sort of staging, storage, or parking,
Should
as
go-
it's written, or some edit that is in and of itself not connected to something else that's already being reviewed, then you can add that in as requiring site plan review.
I think it makes more sense to not put it in the use tables, but to have it as a section here. Do people agree with that?
No, I don't agree with
You think it should go in the use table?
No, I don't use tables. That's what you're gonna look for when you
Okay.
bring your permit into the code enforcement officer. First place you're gonna go. If you don't see it there, how are you gonna know that this is where you need to go?
Okay, so you would then, 8 and 9, waste disposal and waste storage and processing and bulk transfer areas to the use tables.
So I will voice support for what Ernie just said. However, my concern is that 8 has some nuance to it. That is indeed, staging, storage, parking areas for a land use activity that's getting site plan. So for example, a parking area for a residence doesn't get review. And if you put it in the use table, it might look like it does. So we might need, I don't know how to put those qualifications in. Maybe Nan feels she can. But that is my concern, is that there's a lot of words here. And if we just put staging, storage, and parking in the use table, it's going to generalize it beyond what is here. And I don't think I want it generalized that way.
Well, so are you so
No,
parking, anything that already goes through site plan review, like a business that has a parking lot, the parking lot will be reviewed at that time. So this is if someone wants to, just turn a piece of land into a storage area for equipment, I don't know what that would be, but it's not associated with anything else. They're just gonna store, I don't know, bulldozers on it.
I think that's
So-
been done, so it's not unusual.
Yeah, so I would say then,
Well, so explain to me the clause that says that are established as the result of a land use activity that falls within the jurisdiction of the site plan review law.
well, to me, that's a holdover from before you had a use table. So it's basically saying that, that any land use activity that has staging, storage, or parking that is, or any activity that needs a site plan review, that means anything else on the list that has staging, storage, or parking areas for vehicles would also need to have a site plan review. I think the
Right, right.
fact that we can't describe adequately what this is an issue. If you want to just have a line item in the use table that says, staging, storage, or parking area for vehicles, equipment, or materials not associated with a residence. So that's anything else, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Again, but if someone puts in a driveway and widens the top so they can put an extra vehicle there, that I don't think is the sort of thing we're trying to review. I just wanted to make sure that
Right.
we didn't inadvertently do that, but
And
I don't know how to word it.
Ernie just said non-residential use, and I think that's exactly what we're saying here, right?
Okay, great. So basically staging, storage, or parking areas for non-residential use.
Yeah. So add,
Uh,
number,
after permanent, I would just say comma for non-residential use or something like that, and just get rid of what is currently there. What is that? How do people like that?
I think that's fine. Nan is gonna put this in the use tables and we can then look at it then.
And reading it now, that wording is awkward, so it'll be written better.
Okay,
My suggestion was not a good one.
you're ignoring it anyway. Okay,
So,
so let's go on to state, to waste disposal and waste storage processing or bulk transfer areas. So you want to add that to use tables as well?
I believe, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're adding 9.
In particular, that would give us the flexibility to decide, if it wouldn't be allowed in certain districts, and then which ones does it get review in? So I think that's a good flexibility to have.
Okay,
So do you, I can add the line, but then we're gonna have to go back and decide which districts you want it in and not.
You are right.
okay. Then let's go to wind energy facilities. I think we have already talked about this and it is in the use table, right? Yeah.
So right now you have the large wind facilities are prohibited and small wind facilities get the abbreviated site plan review. That's how it's currently in the use table.
Yeah, so 10 can be deleted. It is handled by the use table.
Right.
Okay. 11, mixed uses of any size involving a combination or 2 or more of the uses allowed on a single site. And I can't read the note from here, so what did you say?
So go ahead,
Right.
Bill.
So what Nan wrote is that mixed uses are defined in our zoning, and the wording is used in our purpose statements, particularly regarding the hamlets, but we don't have it included in the use table. And so she suggests that indeed we update the use table to allow for mixed use buildings, at least in the hamlets, with site plan review required. So that it would also be an additional line to the use table. And I would move that and say I'm comfortable with that.
Are we all comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'll say that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that's passed. Okay. 12, any development activity involving the handling, storage, placement, or transfer of hazardous substances or hazardous materials and not in use tables. So I guess I think that we should not be having hazardous substances in the hamlets, just for safety.
Well, so I mean, certain businesses might, use a chemical that is defined as hazardous, and it bears some thinking, but I agree that it should probably be in the use table. But whether we decide to say, okay, only allowed in these districts, not the others, that's a discussion for another day.
Okay,
But there are, if we went back and looked at the use table, there are many uses that are allowed, small scale uses that
Right.
deal in hazardous substances. And so to me, it's the use. I don't know why we need to single out, hazardous materials, because wouldn't that be included,
and all the other uses.
is that item that has the site
Yeah,
plan-
good point.
previous site plan review, that should already be considered, right?
Yeah, and there are state regulations about hazardous waste. I mean, I don't think we have to
Yeah.
repeat it.
Nan,
I
is
mean,
there
even
anything that you
working
think we need to
might have-
include this as a separate item?
I'm sorry, Jean, say that again?
Is there any reason you think this needs to be included as a separate item other than than the uses that we have already discussed in the use table?
I think Barb is right, is that anything that was any kind of chemical use like that, that's associated with a use that is already going to go through site plan review, you will already be reviewing that. I think this would be applicable to, like, if someone wanted to put in a chemical, not recycling, what's the word I'm thinking of? Where you, like a hazardous waste drop-off site, like there are places that that's their business. That's a standalone business that deals with hazardous waste. So that, if you want to allow those in town, then I'd say add it to the use table. If you don't want to allow those kind of standalone businesses that deal in hazardous waste, then by leaving it off the use table means that's not allowed. Anything that's not on the use table is considered prohibited.
I'm fine with that, and if someone wants to do that in the future, they can.
Is there a business of any sort that does that? I thought
Yeah.
that all had to be handled with the.
No, there are businesses, for instance, there's a business in Broome County that does that. They take apart CRTs, cathode ray tubes. That's what they do. It's a highly regulated business by the state. And it requires generally a lot of water use.
Well, so just getting back to, basically we're talking about applicability. And so far, is there anything other than all uses identified in the table that needs to be listed here? Are we trying to get rid of all of these things? Is that?
I think that's what we're trying to do to see if we can.
So, so I think that, then, what we should be working on here is just making sure that the things that are on this list are in fact covered in the use table or elsewhere in the document. Go from there. So, so saying that, any development activity, handling, storage, replacement, transfer, that stuff, that's already covered, so let's move on.
Right, so we're just leaving 12 out,
Okay,
and we're 13 we've already crossed off.
yeah.
And any.
Wait, go back. So are you saying that you're deleting 12 from this list here
Yes, and we're not.
Okay.
Use
We're
tables.
not putting it in the use table.
and not adding to the use table?
That is correct.
Okay, I'm having a little trouble hearing, so I just want to make sure I got it right.
Okay,
Yeah, just, for those of us on Zoom, it's a little hard to hear the folks at in the town hall. So I guess, I don't know,
I will
if Mike
speak
can,
up.
yeah, I don't know if Mark can turn up the mic at all, but I mean, there's some muddiness, but also there's a volume.
okay. Number 13, is there any need for this?
Well, CAFOs are already in the use table.
Right, exactly. And then we need we made, and what was 14, any proposed land use activities that may negatively affect important agricultural resources. I think we already have done our use table, so I don't think we need to do that. Is that fine? Delete. 15, or 14, any modification of any existing commercial site or facility on the above list for which no previous site plan review and approval has occurred. I don't even quite know what that means.
We already have provisions for, allowing what is the 25% change,
Right,
can happen without, without further review, but more than that would then have to be the review that's specified in the use table. So I believe that's covered.
okay,
We can delete.
so let us do it.
Let me just think about that for a second. So, Barbara, yeah, I think you're saying that we have, if a facility is expanded by 25%, it triggers a site plan review. Is that what you just said?
I believe it's more than 25%, but
Okay.
I can look specific.
Yeah, 25% or more than 25%. Okay. So, and this one, of course, has any modification. So the point is that there's might be something that hadn't gone through review, was built 10 years ago. It gets more than 25% big, it will have a review, but if it gets 10% bigger, it will not.
Right.
And
I kind of thought that was our intention when we set the 25 figure.
Yeah,
okay, sure.
Right.
I think I'm okay with 15, 15 in this document, 14 the other, maybe going away.
okay. And I think 15 is fine here. The same thing, right?
What do you mean fine?
You've got,
Yeah.
I think that's just what we were talking about. It's that-
you've got different numbering.
What do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the Google Doc has different numbering than Nan's
Okay,
thing here.
I think we can delete it.
Well, no, let's read 16 carefully.
Okay, I think we're on different numbers, so.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
your 15.
My 15 says, in any of the above use categories, any expansion of existing buildings or structures which involves an increase in the gross floor area of an existing building or structure by more than 10% in the aggregate since any previous site plan approval. Expansion of outdoor inventories that includes new products and materials, or that increase gross storage area volumes by more than 10%, which seems to be repetitive, or any new outdoor land use activity that was not previously subject to site plan review, or that was not issued any site plan approval.
I mean, in a way,
Alright.
this kind of goes back to what Barb was just talking about with the change of use, is that, or a change of intensity or change of scale
Yes,
triggers, a new site plan.
Right. So where was the 25 or more % figure? Because this is obviously a 10% figure. What section is that in? Do we know?
I think that was, I have to go back to, let me just flip over here for a second.
I guess the bottom line of my question is, which do we want, 10% or 25%? I mean, I kind of like, I don't know which one I like. But this is a pretty, nice summary of what would trigger it.
So in section 5.1 F says,
Okay, there it is.
any change of use as defined in this zoning law to a use that requires site plan or special use approval shall also require site plan and approval before being undertaken. So that's when you change what's in a building. Yeah, well, I don't know where the 25% is. That I just did a change of use.
Yeah, you'd have to do a word search for expansion, I think.
Yeah, and I remember raising that, again, I could lose track, but there was something where there was any increase in whatever, and I questioned whether we should put a
Oh, here
bound
it
on
is.
that. So, yeah, so you found it?
I think Nan just found it. Did you? I think it's in the use tables too.
Hmm.
We were going to check on this one because we don't know. And we're gonna look in the use tables because that's where Several of us think it is.
So you think what is?
We think this thing about expansion is in the use table.
About 25%.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's in 9.3. Under changes, expansions, alterations, and restoration.
Article 9.3.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on the screen or not.
It's section 9.3, page, bottom of page 70, and then it goes on to page 71 of the Google Doc.
Okay,
And what it says is both a non-conforming use and a non-conforming building may be expanded up to an additional 25% of the existing operation or size.
Right, so that only applies to non-conforming
Right,
buildings.
I know, I'm trying to look at, I mean, I did a search for expansion, that was the non-conforming piece, so I have to find where the others are for conforming, and that's in Article 9, which is titled non-conforming uses and structures. So we covered it for non-conforming, but I believe it is someplace else for conforming things. I haven't found that yet.
I mean, usually the change of use section is what, whether it's a change of use for everything or in the site plan section, I don't think it's harmful to have it repeat, but it doesn't, that 25%, let me just get back up to.
Yeah, and obviously all these details, I mean, I remember a discussion a week or two ago, but I don't remember the details, where I questioned, because it looked like any increase in the size of facility would trigger a site plan, and I questioned whether we should set a lower bound of amount of expansion, and we didn't. So, but like I say, faulty memory. I
Section
don't think I'm,
Section 8.8 is expansion of special use, which we discussed recently, and we said, except for de minimis changes.
okay, that's what I'm remembering. Thank you, Barb.
Other words for expansion.
But it doesn't have a
doesn't have-
number associated with
Yeah.
it.
So I'm gonna, right, I'm gonna posit that we probably don't have, that we all might be conflating different things, and we should definitely check carefully. And that this condition might need to remain either by being added to the change of use section or something.
I've got something here that I've got in between, that's both the non-conforming use and the non-conforming building may be expanded up to an additional 25% of the existing operation or size, whether measured by building size or by the volume and intensity of the operation that existed at the time of the adoption of the local law.
Right, that's the grandfathering ability of a use to expand if it's been grandfathered.
Right, in the non-conforming is what it's saying.
Right.
Okay.
So I think we need to look careful at this, but
We can find the conforming, and if we can't, we are going to include that.
So, yeah, so forget what the wording is right now. What is the policy that you want to promote? Do you want to say any change of use needs a site plan review, or a change of use or intensity expansion of a building by X% triggers a site plan review?
I think the language should follow what we have in the non-conforming use.
and I was gonna move the same thing. I agree with Ernie.
Yeah,
But whether it's 25% is, we may want to discuss.
Well, I think the language would be except de minimis changes. So any significant change would trigger review.
No.
That's the language in the special use section.
So, but that's different than the non-conforming section, which has a specific number on it.
Right, and I'm saying I would go for, and I thought this is what Ernie was saying, but again, I'm probably hearing it garbled, that we should mirror what we had in the special use section. And I would, that's,
I just think we have to be consistent wherever we mention this sort of thing, because I think that they're all kind of equivalent. Whether it's an existing use or proposed use, it gets enlarged by a certain percentage, then it should go to site plan review. I think the minimus kind of indicates that, anything has to go to site plan review, which I think is a little excessive.
I don't have a problem with 25%.
I do.
You
I would
do?
go with 10%. But, just me.
Well, I mean, think about it.
20%. Do I hear 20?
You've got a 4,000 square foot building and you add 1,000 square feet to 1,000 square feet, there's a fairly significant chunk of real estate. Yeah, that should probably have site plan review. If you had a 1,500 square foot building and you wanted to include it, by 25%, it's kind of like putting a porch in the machine. So I don't know, 15%, do I hear 20?
I mean, can't we just simplify this in some way and just pick a number and just make sure we have the same number every time we do this?
Yeah, the question is, what should that number be? 20%, 15, 25, I don't know.
Could we distinguish it according to the size and stuff?
Too complicated, I think.
Yeah, it's really complicated. We want to make this simple and easy to enforce.
All right, I move 20%. And we make that consistent across the board.
Do I hear a second?
I will
I
second.
second it. Okay,
Okay, so we have a 20%. This is for non-conforming, conforming.
Well, no, non-conforming still can expand by 25%. I'm not trying to touch that, but maybe Ernie is. But I meant in terms of things that would trigger something in the special use section, it would be 20% rather than de minimis.
Okay,
And here in site plan, it would be 20%. And I can't remember if it appeared one other place.
I think not. Okay, so that's your suggestion is 20%. I hear that has been seconded. Do I have any discussion?
That's 20% just for conforming.
That's 20% for conforming and special use.
So if you had a car dealership and you decided you wanted to do an expansion. If it's 20% larger than the original building, you would have to go back to site.
I hear no other discussion. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes.
Okay, so the next question is, where does it go? So Nanny says putting it in somewhere near 5.1, which is the change of use or whatever.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that should govern all of these things, and I think that's the appropriate place for it.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, that was number 15 on mine, and then the next one is solar, I can't even read this.
Wait, Jean,
Solar Photovoltaics, yes?
what about Nan's questions? She questions what is an outdoor inventory and what is an outdoor land use activity?
You
But
kinda can't
are
re-
we taking this out? Whoops, are we taking this one out?
I think
Yeah,
we're taking the rest of that out and just putting this other thing in 5.1.
Yeah, so I guess in that sense, Michelle, those don't matter anymore.
Those
Got
have been cleared. Okay, so why is it so hard to say? Solar photovoltaics. Other than those serving the property being developed. See also local law 3 of 2021 regulating solar energy siting. What was your note on this? Covered by use table. Okay, so it's covered by the use table. We don't need this.
Right.
Fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so we're out of that section now. And I think we move on to let me find my notes.
I've got it here, Gene. I get 7.4 subsection 8.3. These in the document Gene sent. That's what came up next.
Okay,
What was it again, Bill?
Well, Gene needs to share the Google Doc probably, but it's 7.4. And then
Oh, right.
sub point 3, which is, you pointed out that those are water quality things, and that is
Right.
what we have the water resources overlay for. And so that would now be not needed.
right.
You were there, scroll down.
7.4 A.
big A, yep, and then 3, and then it's subpoints, D and E.
D and E.
They're in
Right,
yellow, I think.
so this can go away.
Well, do people agree?
Nan says D and E seem to not be necessary, as that is why we have the water overlay. I suggest we refer to that and indicate that any project undergoing site plan review where the overlay is present, all requirements of that must be met. And I think that is exactly so.
I agree.
Okay, so I move that we replace these sections with a simple statement that, you know, any project undergoing site plan review where the water overlay is present, shall meet the, you know, conditions or whatever the right word is, Nan, of the Water Resources Overlay District,
Okay,
or whatever you think is the right wording.
Okay, everyone agree with that? Okay, excellent. So then we are on to 7.4A 13, which is lighting, and Bill has sent us a long thing about lighting.
All right. So I say, so I had flagged this as being obsolete, and it sort of is, but it sort of isn't. And I also see a losing battle when one's in front of me, so I'm not gonna raise a big ruckus here. I do think in the long run, the town needs to do something more about lighting. And as I've spoken before, I think the first step is an outreach program and incentive program to try to tackle existing lighting, because that's really where a lot of the issue is. But that's a totally different ball of wax than this. This is at least going to try to prevent problems in the future. And I guess given, you know, we have a lot to go through, I'm not going to do a little mini lecture here on lighting. I put a lot of stuff in that document. If you're interested in learning more about lighting, it's in there. I will preface it though by saying that everything I know about lighting, I learned from the you know, Dark Sky Association website. And I really mean everything. So if they've got a particular bias, I've got that bias. You know, I don't know anything else than what I read there. The only thing I do want to point out is we define dark sky compliant pretty well, because it's because it refers to the 5 principles of lighting. The
Right,
point of being compliant is you sort of have to usually have to comply to a standard, and they don't have a standard to comply with. They have some principles that lighting should try to be, like only as bright as it needs to be, not have uplight, not cause too much glare, not be too blue, stuff like that. So I think that's a good guideline. And so what they do though, and I think I'm not saying we should go there, is they set up different lighting level zones, because obviously an urban area is very different than a rural area in terms of the kind of scatter and light you might allow. And so it's not just that any old fixture is dark sky compliant, in the sense that a particular fixture might be approved for use in an urban area by them, but not approved for use in a rural area. It just depends on what the target lighting level is. So there's a whole different scheme of how you look at lighting. But what they do, and that's the only, and this is my motion of what we can change, is they do have a seal of approval for fixtures. So not only do they, you know, they rate fixtures and they have these principles about how you should light your facility, so to avoid, you know, to provide dark skies, they do have a seal of approval. So all I think we need to add to what we've done, and then let the rest of this sit, and I'll talk a little bit more with that, is add a phrase about, you know, wherever we refer to a fixture, that it say, and the fixture should be, should have the International Dark Sky Association fixture seal of approval. And the 2 parts of being dark sky compliant and having that seal of approval, I think put us in a pretty good place. So that's my motion. And there are 3 sections where I'm aware that occurs, but that's what I am suggesting we do. And then the last thing I will say is, so what flagged me was where we talk about the light level of the lot line shall not exceed 0.2 foot candles. And they are very clear to say, just measuring the light at the property boundary is obsolete and no good anymore. Because of course there could be light just above that shining off the property that is brighter. But I think in practical terms, the light flux out the sides is relatively uniform. So if it's dim down low, it's probably dim a bit up higher. But the wording here is actually a little bit obsolete, and that's why they have the ratings for how much light is in different areas. So anyway, I'm done with my info dump. I am moving
Okay,
that in section 6.2.11, section, get this, 6.5.11, D6K5, that's a very long set of sections, and also 7.4A14B2. Those are three places where I heard the word fixture, that we add this seal of approval wording. And so that's my motion.
And
I'll second.
okay, so we have, and Ernie and Barb have seconded that. And Bill, you must send that to me in an actual written statement, because the chance of not getting it into the minutes.
Oh, yeah, no. So what you can see is basically, it is basically in the email that I sent out as the preface to the lighting treatise.
Okay.
But I can send that again to both you and Nan.
Okay, so with that, are there any other questions on this? All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Ernie is abstaining, and I am, not Ernie, Bruce is abstaining. And I'm voting yes, and so it is passed. With Bruce's objection. Thank you. So
So that means there's no reason to change any of the language here, is the bottom line.
right,
So,
okay, that sounds great. And then I will send you that when we get it done, and then we go on
Yep.
to 14, which is energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. Are we happy with this?
no, Nan had some key comments on this.
I can't read them, so tell me what they are.
Well, it's in the thing, one of the emails she sent out. Oh, right, there's a note in the Google Doc. No, wait, wrong, sorry. Nan wrote, and I quote, for the section of the site plan regarding energy use, I think it is laudable to include being energy efficient in development. From an environmental perspective, it is a good thing. However, this section, the one we're looking at here in green, seems quite detailed and quite involved and could be a burden to small businesses. This seems to not jive with some of the other perspectives you have in the zoning. So perhaps it's enough to say that all buildings must meet the New York State Energy Code. And then she mentions, of course, there's the New York State Stretch Code. And so we could say to meet the stretch code, or I'm not sure, exactly what we're gonna say, but say you could go further and say the town will require the New York State Stretch Code to be met. This is a building code fully oriented to energy efficiency, and from all indications I've seen will become part of the building code soon enough. So that's what Nan wrote.
That seems rational. People who deal with this on a daily basis.
I will tell you that the New York State Stretch Code is a rather small upgrade to the existing energy code, which got pretty heavily upgraded 3 or 4 years ago, and so it's pretty good. I think that we can stop by saying buildings comply with New York State Energy Code, and as that code gets improved over the years, becomes more stringent, we'll go there. If you look at what the city and town have done with their implementation of the stretch code and a bunch of other measures, it's pretty draconian. They're kind of saying, well, everybody has to switch to electric appliances. You've got to have charging stations, and it's getting kind of, right now you have to get 6 points by, various methods of improving your energy efficiency or converting to electricity. And as of December of this year, it's going to go to 12 points. And I think I've had 2 projects that have gone through this. It was not easy to meet that code, and it's going to be nearly impossible once December rolls around. I think there's going to be some backlash. So, that being said, the energy code, is not bad. It's not a low bar. And putting it to stretch code, I think it's not raising the bar very high, just cause a lot.
So I hear you making a motion that we, say that
Do
we
it,
could
do
go
it.
to New York State code.
All right, so did Barbara, somebody else want to say something? Because I've said a lot, so I'm going to hold back because I have something to say eventually.
Okay, no, Barbara doesn't want to say anything. Ernie? Ernie, you said something, Bruce, Michelle, Bill, it's up to you.
All right, and I guess what I would say, I mean, I think bottom line, of course, all buildings, don't they have to comply with the New York State Energy Code anyway? But we have definitely referred to this sort of stuff elsewhere, so it's fine, I think. I would like to add, I would move that we add that, developers or builders, I don't know what the right word is, are encouraged, strongly encouraged, pleaded, begged to comply with the New York State stretch code.
Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I would accept that as a friendly amendment. I just, I think that kind of stuff is just encourage, should, shall, it's just adding stuff that people are paying attention to.
No, I understand that. I think that it's a philosophy statement.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we have, that's accepted as a friendly amendment. With that, do I have a second then? Thank you. Any other statements? All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You're good. It's passed unanimously. Thank you. And Nan, have you captured that in some fashion?
Yes, I think so.
Good. Okay, so let's whip along through this. There is a part here that's in kind of a pale color. The third party building commissioning. Do we have any notes on that? I'm just not sure.
Yeah,
That's all still part of that same one. That's all would come out,
So this would all come out then, and we would just go back to the building code.
right?
Okay, so that would all go away. Okay, and then we're on to scenic resources, and none of this has any notes. And we're on to, look at this, looking along here.
Yeah, I mean, this is all what we've been through, and I guess the question is, we did, I believe, look at the abbreviated site plan section. I don't, and there's no notes saying we have to do anything for that, but
I think the only question I had about it was that because of the way the use table fleshed out, the abbreviated site plan is for more than just the reviewing when there's the water resource overlay. Because you have specific uses in the use table that you said need abbreviated site plan review. So I think the applicability and the reader's aid that only refer to the overlay, we just want to make sure that that's cleared up.
So basically, under purposes and applicability, we would want to add that it's been established to enhance protection of water resources and to, you would want to add some other things that are referred to it in the use table.
all right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that really the abbreviated site plan review process is really, its purpose is for certain uses that you have identified, to give an efficient and less complicated process, but with having some town oversight over it, but not in the more complex and comprehensive manner that a regular site plan would be. So for me, I think that is not currently in that purpose statement, but probably should be, because that's really why we have it.
I think it's sort of in the last sentence that says the process also promotes maximum efficiency and timeliness by establishing an abbreviated review process.
Yes,
So is
Yeah,
that-
I might
but I-
put that sentence first.
Okay, I think
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
make that sense.
yeah, but Nan, I think you do need to have some sentence, phrase, whatever, that refers to, and, uses that have been identified, or, I mean, but you say,
Right.
it's not just about the water resources overlay. That is definitely one of the big
Right.
triggers. So we need some kind of nice language that somehow encompasses what you said, which is
Okay,
any
Okay.
uses that have been identified as needing, that would benefit, or the town would benefit from having an efficient review.
okay, gotcha.
Okay, so we're gonna rearrange those sentences and Nan is gonna add a couple of a sentence about this.
I mean, do people agree? I mean, I think that makes sense.
I think that makes sense too. I see nodding, excellent.
I agree, I agree.
Okay, so, and then I think we went through all of the rest of this about the plans you have to add and slopes over 15% and review board action. We did all this. And we stopped there at the end of that on 10-4. And then we went on last time to Article 8. And so let us just go through.
Yeah, so here we're done except for almost the last section, 8.9C, which is the review criteria. And we did not discuss it at all.
Right, so I'm gonna go down to there. 8.9C. The review board shall consider. So it's the page 68, and then we go on to page 69. The proposed special use shall conform to the character of the neighborhood, which is again a question that we keep talking about. Is it there, though it is referred to in the comprehensive plan?
So one of the things I flagged is there seem to be at least 3 of these that have, different words all getting at roughly the same thing. So I don't know if we need all of them. And I don't remember now which 3 those were. I think it might have been 1, 5, and 11 or something. But maybe I'm wrong about 5. Yeah, 8 shall be compatible with the neighborhood is very similar to 1. And then if you scroll down to 11 quickly, maybe it was the other one. Yes.
Yes.
Character shall be, so I don't know if we need all of those and what thoughts other people have, and then we should go through and order them all for sure.
I think that 11 is probably the most comprehensive.
Or Nan, are there nuances missing that I'm missing in the phrasing of each of those?
No, I think 1 and 11 are the same. I think 11 gives some more detail that would help the review board know what you're thinking about. It's a little more specific than number 1. So if you're gonna pick
Yeah, so
one,
we
I would say 11 is better than 1.
So we could replace 1 with the text from 11.
And
How's
actually,
that sound?
we could, yes.
It works.
Okay, well, I move that that's what we do.
Okay,
I second it.
Michelle, any questions? All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
I think that's unanimous.
We reorder all of this and then have a motion.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do one big motion. So we move 11 up to number 1. Number 2 is about the requirement that it's consistent with site plan. Number 3 talks about natural environmental features. Number 4 says consistent with the policies of the adopted town of Carapine comprehensive plan. Is that necessary when we now have zoning?
I mean, everything in the zoning, if you remember our purpose statement from way back when, at the very beginning, talks about the reason that we have zoning is to ensure that land uses are consistent with the comprehensive plan. So in essence, it's a repeat.
Yeah,
I don't think it's critical to have in here, as long as everyone, those purpose, and I've said this before, those
that's the purpose.
purposes that we developed in the very first meeting or two are really important. They underpin everything.
So I would suggest that we then get rid of this because it just seems repetitive.
Right.
Okay, so we're getting rid of 4, the proposed special use shall not injure the use and enjoyment of the property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair the property values within the neighborhood or district.
So what's that comment? Who commented?
You commented that you said, I don't understand what this means.
Yeah, I don't.
Ah,
I think it
What
means
it means is that the special use shall not impact adversely the other uses that are already in that district. So if you put a fireworks demonstration facility in the place, in, the same district as the school,
not a good idea.
probably not gonna get.
Do not put a nuclear power plant.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
can give you a real example of how that wording was really important in another community that had a mining operation that was proposed in the community that was really going to take the whole top of the mountain off. And the planning board in that community required them to do basically a property assessment and to identify the likely changes in property values as a result of this. And they used data from all sorts of other places that have had mines, and they compared what happens to property values when a mine goes in. And it was, they did the study and showed that, it was a negative impact, and that was a rationale that they used to say no to this project. Because they showed that it did impair the property values.
Great, yeah, and thanks, and I do understand, it was for the purpose already permitted that I was hung up on, but I think Ernie's helped me understand it, that, in other words, purposes that are already allowed under the site plan and the zoning code, that this special use can't harm those.
Correct.
And I now understand the language. I
Okay.
did not understand the language when I first read it.
Okay.
And your example was also awesome.
Okay, so we're leaving 6 in. The 7 is the establishment, maintenance, and operation of the proposed special use shall be sufficient to outweigh the individual interests that are adversely affected by the establishment of the proposed use. So in other words, putting in a child care facility in a neighborhood, the use of that might outweigh the fact that some people are object to that use.
Well, who determines that?
The review board.
Okay,
Review board.
Yep.
Can't do
So these are, remember, the special use these are considering the actual use. That's why special use and site plan work together, because the site plan section looks at how things are functioning on the ground. And these are, they're a little harder to wrap your head around, I think. But they're getting at how does that use fit into the neighborhood?
Right. And in this case, is that a use that affects many people in the community positively versus fewer people less positively, right? Yeah, okay. So we're leaving that, I think. The location, arrangement, size, nature, intensity, blah, blah, blah.
I think we need to compare 8 and 11.
Okay, so let's see if we can do that. So there's 8. 8 is longer.
Well, and like 11, I think 8 gives a lot more detail that would be
Right.
more helpful than just some vague in harmony
Right.
with.
Which is why I wanted to look at the two of them, because I'm starting to lean towards saying, okay, let's get rid of 1 and 11 and use 8. So I just want to, have us look
We
at
were
those.
gonna
two.
move 11 up to number 1. Should we instead get rid of 11 and move 8 to number 1?
That's what I'm wondering, and I agree that it is more specific, and in that sense, helps both the review board and the applicant by giving that specificity, because I know the review board does not want things too open-ended is I think part of the feedback we got from them. So I think 8 is more helpful. So I would suggest that one, but
Okay,
I agree.
okay, so right now we're moving 8 up to number 1 and getting rid of number 1 and 11.
Yeah. that's good. All right.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I think that's fine.
okay. Then we have 9, the special use shall not negatively impact historic or scenic features. 10, the level of municipal and other services required to support the proposed use is or will be available to meet the needs of the proposed activity or use. To consider.
sorry, backing up to 9, what do folks think? Should we say shall not significantly negatively impact? Again, there's always this question of, putting up, a teeny little thing could be considered to impact something. And so I don't know. I propose that for discussion.
I'm okay with that. What do people think?
Yeah, what's another adjective?
I'm paid by the word.
Three words. Well,
Okay. We're going on to number 10.
Highlight significantly so that Nan will, or Nan, you've taken
Yep,
notes,
I got it. Yep, I got it.
Great. All right.
So this would be things like, somebody wanting to put a large development in, where there is no bus service. And the bus service telling us that there's no way on earth they're going to bring a bus there. So is that a problem? And that's something that the review board would have to think about. Transportation and other infrastructure to accommodate the intended use, right? I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then 11 is the character and appearance of the proposed use. Oh, we've already gotten rid of 11. Okay.
We're
So,
done.
and then B is the review board shall include reasonable assurances that their conditions and safeguards can be monitored and enforced. Okay,
Well, let's get the motion to accept this reordering.
okay,
So my understanding where we're at is that we've added a word and we're taking that one longer thing, which is currently 8, making it number 1. What is currently number 1 and number 11 are going away. And other than that, we are not changing the order. Is that correct?
that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that
Okay.
case, I'm
I
saying
agree.
that's, that was moved by Bill, and Bruce is seconding that. And any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That's approved unanimously. Fabulous. Okay, and then the only other part of this is B, which I just read and no one objected to. Great, so we have now done that part of the agenda, which was Articles 7 and 8 and special use permits. Let us talk water resources, and then I think you can also get to the commercial areas under 79 tonight. And we probably cannot get to the outstanding issues from Articles 5 through 14, including conservation subdivision and the other outstanding issues, but we'll have done a lot tonight. So let's do water
So
resources.
actually, well, first is 5.1, section E, subpoint C. Nan, or you, or someone had a question because there's some red on the Google Doc. I think that sounds like the language we agreed on.
Yes. This is the development of slopes greater than 25%. The project must also demonstrate significant mitigation to avoid or minimize stormwater and erosion impacts. I believe that this has been approved.
I believe so too.
Okay, just wanted everyone to know that. And then we go to I don't think.
5.3.
5.3. It's in the Google Doc and I'm trying to get there. 5.3 is on-
It'll be in yellow. There you go.
It's on,
Here it is, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
okay, and so Bill, I'm turning this over to you.
Okay. So, and I'm just gonna basically read from the email I sent out because I can't possibly remember all this, but so as it came up a couple weeks ago, there was a little bit of some questions and clarity, like the question of, are we mandating that native vegetation be used, et cetera. And so I took a look again at the section because clearly there was some confusion about it. And okay, thought that it could, part of the problem was just the old Google Doc didn't have things in right hierarchy. It was just too hard to tell what was what. So I went through, renumbered, relettered, passed some things by Nan, and this is what you have in front of you. And in doing that, I identified at least 3 things that we definitely have to talk about, because there's like choices of what does this mean or what are we really trying to do here. So I suggest we do that. And then after that, I will just mention the minor things that happened in regard to that document, just so you're aware that a change might have been made. Again, that's in the email, but I'll go through it so it's on the record here. So if we go down to 5.3H. There we are, sub-point 1. So as it's talking about the buffer setback area, that it's 50 feet, but if there's a steep slope or a wetland, that distance gets added. And this will sound familiar because that same language is there for the riparian buffer zone or riparian buffer area. In the riparian buffer area, we added a cap saying if it's going to extend 200 feet, that's as far as it goes.
Right.
So I think we need some sort of cap on the buffer setback area as well. So it doesn't happen in case you were like on the edge of, one of Caroline's hills that goes up forever, that suddenly the whole thing is not the buffer setback area.
Right.
And so I think we need to add that language, and I need to have a distance. I do not know if it needs to be 200 feet again, because we're already, some further distance out from the stream. I might suggest 100 feet, but I really have no basis for one number or another. And for the 200 feet, we were relying somewhat on Ernie's experiences as a architect watching things slide downhill. So what do people think we should do for that here?
Well, making it the same is sort of easier in the sense that we're not having a lot of different numbers in the document. On the other hand, I think I would rely on Ernie's understanding of things sliding down hills.
Yeah, well, I everything's different. And, you could be talking about a cliff, you could be talking about, a sledding hill, so, yeah. I think that, 100-foot thing is not, but,
Okay, so you are going along with Bill's suggestion of putting in a sentence here that says this shall not exceed 100 feet, need not
Yeah.
exceed.
Right. So after buffer setback area, which is actually the end of the first sentence, second sentence, sorry.
Yes,
So then whatever wording we used before, which is something like, but in no case shall it exceed, and then it would be 100 feet, but you'd have to scroll up to see what exact language we used.
I'm gonna leave that up to Nan to do, and I'm just gonna put this in here in caps. But
So Bill, were you anticipating that this is 100 feet from the stream bank or 100 feet from the edge of the riparian area?
So the 100 feet is the width of the buffer setback area. So right now the buffer setback area is 50 feet nominally if there's no intervening slope or wetland. But if there's 100-foot slope intervening, then the distance of the buffer setback area gets capped at 100 feet, not wherever it was plus the 100 feet of the slope. That clear
Okay.
enough?
Okay, yep.
yeah, but in no case shall the riparian buffer area be required to extend more than 200 feet from the stream bank.
okay. So I'm just putting it in here and marking it in red, and Nan will fill that in.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
just use the exact language we had in whatever it is, G probably.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, and now I'm gonna have to make you scroll back up again, sorry. Because I didn't have a letter on this one. So somewhere up here, keep going. is going to talk about how the riparian buffer zone for an intermittent stream, keep going up. Well, maybe we didn't actually, that's why it's no letter. Okay, so here we go. This is close enough. So we have a riparian buffer area and a buffer setback area, and those apply to perennial streams. If it's an intermittent stream, there is only a riparian buffer area. In the original language, which was drawn from the ordinance, it just said that the width of the buffer area for an intermittent stream is 50 feet. It was a little vague whether any of these conditions about steep slopes and wetlands, which extend the width, applied to intermittent streams. As this has now been reorganized, that same condition will apply. That is, if you have an intermittent stream, you have a 50-foot buffer, but if there's a steep slope or a wetland in that within that 50 feet, the buffer gets wider. And our previous thing, I think it would have been debatable what we meant. And I just wanted an affirmative decision one way or the other. Maybe for an intermittent stream, we only want to make it a fixed 50 feet and not make that extension. So that's the question I think is a policy decision that I'm proposing. I don't know which it should be.
Sounds good to me. I don't think we should.
So I am hearing Bruce say he doesn't think that intermittent streams need the additional space. Does anyone want to speak to the other side?
Yeah, and I have no scientific basis for one or the other. And,
Yeah, I mean, basically, the intermittent stream is intermittent because the water table goes down far enough that, there's no water available to fill the stream. The reason we provide the setbacks are a lot to do with erosion problems and that sort of thing, as much as disturbing the aquifer or whatever. I mean, so, I don't know, Bill, we're gonna lean on you. You
Yeah.
much more than the rest of us.
yeah. I mean, I can also go back. I can talk to the Town of Ithaca folks to see if they have advice. Maybe we'll have to circle back around on this one because I don't know what the science says. Because I mean, if it's when the intermittent stream is running, there's not a whole lot of difference between that and a perennial stream. If you're like eroding stuff down into it and then it's washing downstream and getting into the perennial stream. So the other option is to say, when the intermittent stream is present, when it's not in its dry phase, you have to have this extension. But that seems kind of too complicated. So
Yeah,
No,
I don't want to go there.
No.
So I can, again, I have no basis to choose one over the other. If folks want, I will happily contact the Department of Sustainability, for Tompkins County and see if they have wisdom to add.
So
And we
what-
can revisit this.
An intermittent stream, or we're using a DEC definition or something? I mean.
That's a good question. I don't know if we've defined intermittent stream.
I got some things on my property that I might call intermittent streams, but you wouldn't know it unless it was a real tow ground.
I mean, so maybe, so the Tompkins County GIS division has mapped intermittent streams and the definition might be that they are on that map. Nan, does that seem like a possible?
yeah, I would say that then we need to make that map available so people can use it.
Yeah,
One thing I would say, Bill, is that was discussed when I was on the watershed committee was that one of the big concerns with 6 Mile Creek was the amount of silt in the stream. And I asked the particular question, why weren't the intermittent streams and the, so-called little tributaries would be the biggest source of the silt in the stream looked at. So that should be part of the question too, because that's where most of your silt is coming from, I believe.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, we're gonna try to get the map and include that with all of our things about intermittent streams. And Bill is going to ask the correct county official about
Darby, but anyway, yeah.
Okay, about, what their best practice would be in the area of intermittent streams. Yep,
When you're done, I think.
I think I am.
Okay, yeah, and just to note, I'm just looking at some definitions here, and, an intermittent stream. Is a stream that has flowing water during certain times of the year when the groundwater provides water for stream flow. During dry periods, the groundwater is lower than the stream flow. So the issue of pollution is still an issue. The issue of, erosion is a problem during high flow. Different from an intermittent stream is an ephemeral stream, which is a stream that is flowing water only during a short duration and is located above the water table. So ephemeral streams, you don't have to worry so much about contaminating the groundwater because the groundwater table is always below the ephemeral stream level. So with that, I would suggest that intermittent streams be treated the same actually as perennial streams in the sense that there's groundwater contamination concerns and in high flow, there's erosion.
And I agree with that on the premise that that is how intermittent streams are going to be defined. Which I think that there are intermittent streams defined by the DEC and map as such. I think I've
So,
seen that map somewhere.
What were you
So,
reading that definition from, Barb?
There's this is something by reflecting the survey by the Association of State Wetland Managers using.
Yep.
Do we have
So-
that defined in our terms, and if so, should we?
we definitely need to define it if it's not. But one question, so Nan, intermittent streams are part of the water resources overlay, I believe.
Yes,
That is partly a question.
I think it is.
Yeah, I have to go back and look at the list of what we,
Oh, actually, yeah,
Included
I'm trying to pull that list up mentally and I'm not sure. Because again, I do know that some have been mapped in Thompson County, and when you say make that map available, I didn't know if you meant, have to have a physical map at the town hall, or the website is available to
Right.
all who have a computer, but that's not everybody, so
yeah, I have to look that list up again.
well, let's see, it's
It's on the map.
well, but also the list is in the document that I just wrote, because you've provided it several times, and if I, had a,
Okay, so
perfect
what I'm
memory.
doing to this point is kind of a moving towards, we should treat intermittent streams the same way as perennial, but I still think we're gonna have Bill go check this. Is that where we are?
Okay, I will talk to Darby, and but I think, and we're saying that they need to be defined in a way that they're worthy of that. That is, as Barb
Yes.
wrote, that they are connected to groundwater,
Yes.
in certain seasons. And so as long as we define intermittent streams, that is the way this section currently reads.
Okay,
That the riparian buffer area will be treated the same for them in terms of how it's measured. And all we have to do is define intermittent stream appropriately, that we are all comfortable with that. That's how
Okay.
I see where we've gotten to.
okay, so if that's the case, we will discuss this at next week and see if we're calm.
Okay, so then move on to 5.3G. G is above H. Sorry.
Well, if that's the way you want to use it.
Yeah, I know. I'm really fussy about that. Yeah, keep going up, keep going up. It's the very first paragraph after G. Okay, now we're close. I hope.
No, that's-
Down.
This is 5.3.
Yeah, you missed
E-
G. Okay.
Oh, here it is. Okay,
Okay, so, based partly on the discussion that went on, about native vegetation, all that sort of stuff. Again, so the bottom line is, there's nothing in this water resource overlay or in the riparian buffer protection that says you got to go out there and now plant your lawn with trees, right? I mean, there's that requirement is not in there. Nor, but what we are maybe now adding, as Ernie says, this is sort of dressing on the cake. There are times maybe when someone is or wants to, or whatever, revegetate their riparian buffer. And indeed, it is encouraged in scientific circles that native vegetation be used. So the phrase has been added, the sentence has been added at the end of that first paragraph. It says, if the riparian buffer area is being revegetated, the use of native species is strongly encouraged.
Yes,
That could say is required. But, you know, that's a question of what's the sense of the committee is, and I both felt that probably strongly encouraged would more meet sort of Caroline's sensibility, but again, that's worthy of discussion.
I am fine with strongly encouraged.
Yeah, I would
I agree. I think sometimes non-natives may be used in certain circumstances for different
think it should be
purposes.
revegetated.
Okay,
Okay, so if that's okay with people, we're going to accept that wording. Is that correct?
yep,
Yep.
Okay. We probably don't need to look at each of the others, but why don't you scroll up to the top of the A, B, C here, because I do have a. Okay, scroll down and okay, keep going down to C. Good. Okay, and then D. All right. So one detail on D is if you look at the last sentence in D, it talks about how wetlands are in the jurisdiction of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and then says also known as NWI wetlands. That was you know, is just sort of a, I don't know, Rito Speako that gives, it makes it think like a wetland has to be in the National Wetlands Inventory in order to be protected. And that's not true. So Nan, what wording did you want to use here? You said you liked my wording, but I gave you two choices.
Oh, shoot, I don't have those up now. Do you have those options right handy?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look. I tried to print them. I knew that would come up. And did I? Certainly tried to. It's probably here somewhere on my desk.
I mean, wasn't one of those options was just to take out also known as NWI well, just say
I
that
think so.
wetlands under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers shall also be protected from disturbances.
So I didn't say that. I think under, so here's the question is, I thought some wetlands were regulated by someone besides the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at the federal level. I think one of my phrases was other wetlands under the federal jurisdiction shall also be protected from disturbance.
I mean, that's fine. I'm not aware. I mean, I haven't come across any other agencies. I mean, usually when there's a wetland on a property, you have to contact the Army Corps and they do a letter of jurisdiction, determine whether they have any jurisdiction over that wetland or not. But I think you're, saying other, the way you did is broad enough that should there be anything else out there would capture that.
so.
Okay, yeah.
if we
So,
just-
so I think it would start right after it says 100-foot buffers, period.
Huh?
And it would say other wetlands
Other wetlands. Yes,
under federal jurisdiction.
yes,
Then just the last part shall also be protected from disturbances.
so we get rid of the Army Corps of Engineers, is that what you're saying?
And the NWI and the reference to NWI wetlands.
Okay.
And that sort of leaves it vague but complete. I think very rare. I mean, almost always it's U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. But I remember when I was looking at this before that every once in a while, EPA or someone else had some jurisdiction. I mean, so if you look into the little niggly details, there are a handful of federal agencies that might regulate a wetland.
Okay, I have a question about wetlands that I realized I don't quite understand. I know that the feds, whoever they may be, regulate wetlands of a certain acreage. I think it's like 12 point something, right?
That's the state.
No,
No?
the state does.
Okay, so let us think, does that mean that that has to all be on one piece of property? Or let us say there is a wetland and goes over several pieces of property, but it is larger than the 12 point. So, and that's the regulated wetland.
It's the wetland, it doesn't.
Right.
Doesn't matter about property. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly. So for instance, I could have a piece of property that had a tiny sniffle of wetland in it. And it still counts as the wetland regulated because it's part of the larger wetland. Okay. Just thought we should all understand that, because I wasn't sure. It might just be me. Okay, thank you.
All right. So I'm just gonna, I'll just read off their changes. Just note there's a point C now that didn't exist before, referring to the stormwater management law. That used to be part of B, or at least part of that other phrase. So it just,
He
it
just
seemed
put
better
it
to
out.
separate it out.
Okay,
And then there again, okay, I guess we can go down. If you look at 5.3 G
yeah,
and then 2. So next one down. Just, yeah, the second bullet point, just my little niggling English, I just added to make it clear that it's the land use that's being grandfathered. So it says that that's all, any lawful use of land if the use is in existence at the time of the adoption of the zoning law.
right, okay,
Allowed to continue. And other than that, we moved a couple things around, not a big deal. Yeah, that's, I'm not gonna, some of the stuff is just basically sentences were maybe put alone or not. Okay, the only other thing I think that is worth is, oh, so yeah, we did that one. Okay, so down under, look at 5.3 H1, we did that just now, right?
yes.
Yes,
Okay,
that
good.
was this 100 feet.
So, right, so the last one is I and J. These are what we discussed at one of the last meetings. So we added the parking, and I said parking or parking lots as a prohibited activity in the riparian buffer only. That was a decision we made about 2 weeks ago. So it appears as its own line here. I was not sure how to handle the fact that it, that was the one thing in it. All right, so there it is. Those are all the changes. And so I just think that I want to make sure everyone was aware of them and that we approved the policy things.
Great. Good. I think we all are happy now with 5.3, right? Shall we, let's move to accept this. Let's move to accept all these changes we just discussed.
Not to accept all these changes we just discussed.
Fabulous. Thank you, Barb.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Michelle. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Fabulous. Let us now award Bill a second doctorate. And Barb, I believe, also get the second doctorate.
Yeah, I just get a master's.
You got a master's, okay, that's good.
Build it all.
For his incredible work on writing up what the water resources map means. And then you are allowed to steal that for other organizations. I just want you to know that. And I think for his video, what I would like to do now is take the 5 minutes and show the video during this, because I think that would be very interesting to people who are watching. And many of whom have had questions about the water resources overlay and what it actually means. So Bill, can you do that?
Not from the computer I'm on, because it's,
I think I could. Let me see if I can manage.
yeah. It's just, yeah, it's just in a location on my other computer that does not get synced to my laptop. So that's all.
Okay, I think I can do this. So Bill,
And heads up ahead of time that, Zoom is sort of okay for videos. It can be herky jerky.
video presentation. Here it is. Download. And I am now going to play this. I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to share again. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen out there in the land, this is
It's not sharing yet.
it's not sharing.
And so disclaimer, this was a rough cut. Okay,
There you go.
this is like,
Okay,
It is now.
Okay, so this is starting to play. And will the sound come? Let me see if I have to do something. with
You
my-
have to do something separate to share the sound, I think.
My sound is up.
I think you have to go in like you're sharing controls somewhere.
First, there are flood zones.
I'm gonna come back to here.
None of the Carolina taps and comes to water resources. That has the purpose of alerting owners and developers that there are critical water resources in areas prone to flooding on a parcel. And they should be considered when planning to build on or develop that property. The Water resources, Southern Holyoke District is shown this map in the blue circle, hash marks here. The overlay is made up of several components, and precise regulations and restrictions to each component differ. So what are the zones of the overlay? First, there are flood zones. There are also wetlands. And there are areas, and the overlay is the combination of all of these areas. Flood zones. There is a map by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, 100-year flood areas. The map in the current draft zoning plan uses the newest 2022 flood maps that are still in preparation by FEMA. And so some of the areas that are in the overlay may differ to the fact that some of these areas is the presentation map are different than the overlay. The draft zoning law does not add or change any regulations regarding flood zones. The existing regulations are all on town local law. There has been a local law that we prevention for some time. Current law is 2021, and it does not limit the building in flood zones. But it does set standards so that buildings and utilities will be damaged by floods. And it also sets standards that whatever is done does not look any worse. Wetlands are areas that are covered by water, at least for some portions of the growing season. Because they are not wet all the time, so they dry certain seasons. Wetlands are identified by plants specifically adapted to live in wet conditions and other sources. If the wetland is greater than 12.4 acres, it is regulated by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, and smaller wetlands are regulated by the There is no local law concerning wetlands. And draft zoning law does not change this picture, does not add or change any of the existing state or federal regulations. There areas are streams used, areas is the streams. In the draft zoning law, perennial streams and intermittent streams are handled differently. Perennial streams have a two-part protection zone made of the riparian buffer area, that is the 50 feet, which is closest to the stream, and a buffer setback area that is the 50 feet or so out on that. And the way this looks, it's here, or it's here to the green, then the first area is the riparian buffer area, and the section for the route area. Note that if there's a steep slope or wetland in the riparian buffer area, the buffer area is adjusted as a counterpart to the steep slope or wetland is not doing the steep protection job. This is required, so this next just is added to this area. The midstreams just have a single riparian buffer area. We'll go through the detailed regulations, protections in the riparian area. Now, as overview in this most critical, closest to the stream, proposed regulations are no buildings allowed. And in the secondary area further out from it's more relaxed, see buildings such as fence, gazebos, and playgrounds and
Great, thank you. Let me turn this off. Okay, stop it. So, so Bill, you would need to change that if we if we do the intermittent streams the same?
Well, no, right now, again, it just said they have the buffer area, it didn't measure how, it mentioned how it was measured. So, and the intent was that's an overview and that there could be another video that went through the proposed regulations in great detail. That kind of gets slurred over there in my words, which as I said, that was the first rough cut at the text. So that is part of the question is, again, that's a 5-minute video that's essentially the overview.
Yeah,
And the question is, what else? Again, there was a short video I also sent out that was like how to use the Tompkins County GIS mapping system.
right.
And there could be another video that had the why protect riparian areas, perhaps followed up by here's what the detailed regulations are. So one of my questions to the zoning committee is, do we want a set of these? Do we want one long video? Is what's there good enough? That one summary video good enough? So that's one of the questions I wanted to pose tonight. And then about the paper, I had a couple questions as well.
Okay, I have, what do people want to say about that?
I mean, it's probably the intent, if we're gonna host it on the town YouTube page, then a 20 or 30-minute video would probably work. But if people want to like post it to Facebook, then they maybe would prefer to have a 5-minute, various 5-minute clips they could post. So it's partly intent.
I think I would very much like to get something out fairly quickly to a lot of people who have questions about understanding the water resources overlay and what it means. And I think the 5-minute thing at this point would be helpful, and we can very clearly say that there's more coming. Does that make sense to people?
I don't know
Yeah.
that it's necessary to do more. I think our mission here is to present all of this information. We can't obviously spend this much time on every aspect of this regulation. And I think that, unless there's some sort of crying need for it, I wouldn't want to go there. I also don't think it's our mission to become missionaries to spread the gospel here. Our job is to make the regulations proposed as clear as possible, but we're not fossilizing zoning. That's not part of our job, I don't think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess I would advocate for shorter rather than longer, so 5 minutes rather than 30 minutes. I would advocate that, there's this one, add in, some information like where in the draft zoning law, you'll be able to find the details about what's allowed to be built in 2 areas, that kind of stuff. But I would focus, the video, one or more, and I think we can debate, what topics it would be useful to do. But I agree with Ernie in the sense of the zoning commission should focus on explaining things that are in the draft zoning law. And so, for example, I would not suggest doing a video about why water resources are important, but rather, include a statement that says, water, for more information about why water resources are important, see blah, blah, blah. I don't think the zoning commission should spend time giving all the background information about why different elements of the zoning law are there, other than to suggest resources that can be consulted to understand all of the details of why. So that's my thought.
Okay,
I think the short one that you did, and also the other small video that you did about where to look. I think if people have specific questions, they're going to do that, and it works great. I could do it though, thank you. And, so that will bring specifics forward if somebody has them. At least this gives them where to go, how to do it, and this is a good explanation of what we're doing.
Did you see Michelle?
I did. Michelle?
Yeah, I guess I'm agreeing with everybody else. I think the 2 short videos that Bill has done are fine. I don't think people are going to sit through a 20-minute video, to be honest. And but I also thought that the written information was very helpful. So I think the short videos plus the written information that Bill and Barb worked on would be really helpful. I felt like that answers all your questions. If you have more questions than that, then I don't know if you can do your own research or send specific questions to the zoning commission.
Yeah, so for example, the last slide of the short video could have the website, the URL to that written document.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. So I'm gonna say thank you, Bill. I'm gonna talk about how I'm gonna try to put this up tomorrow. Get Mike to post it on the website.
I think.
How about you call, I mean, I can add the slide that Barb asked about and
Okay.
actually probably record it one more time. I mean, I will anyway, because again, I said, literally, I sat down and yeah, I muffed the first 2 times. So that was the third take. And I wanted to edit the slide of the showing our figure of the stream a little bit. So let me do that work tomorrow and get you a copy by the end of tomorrow that you can post. How's that sound?
That sounds delightful.
And actually, I'll put out for review to make sure I capture what Barb and you guys have suggested. Basically, I get it. I think it's great. I think it's great to refer people how to get the rest of the details rather than presenting a video of the details. That's why I want to ask the question.
Good.
So,
Thank you. Thank you again.
all right,
Really.
and then I have one more question now about the paper. Yeah, I think that a lot of discussion on that should probably occur via email because I don't think I have a lot of meeting time for that. But I think this discussion might be helpful to have. But again, Jean, you can say no. But the last 2 sections of that paper, stray into maybe some areas that for they are not about what's in the draft zoning law. They are explicitly about some questions that folks have raised that are not concerns of the zoning commission. And I state that these are not we can't deal with these, but it is things about which we have some information to provide the community. And so that's what I tried to do. So they aren't sitting there saying, we ask these questions and we're not, what do we do? So the question is, do we present some information, whether it's what I have written or something else on landowner compensation, and some information, again, whether it's what I wrote or some modified version on grants and incentives. And so it's just a principle of, are those sections in the paper or not? Because if they get lopped off, then Barb won't have to edit them.
I thought they were useful and I've gotten those questions several times in the last 2 weeks.
So
Some
what's
people.
the venue for answering those questions? I mean, don't we already have a venue for answering those questions and they can appear there? Right, I mean, it's been the question and answer thing, you click on the questions, 101, 653, right? I mean, am I wrong? I'm just, yes.
We were getting a lot of questions specifically about the water resource overlay and consequences of it. So that's why there was a vote to make a document like this. So that's why they're there, Ernie, rather than on the website as a separate Q&A. But yes, that's possible to put it there.
Yeah, because it was, a vast number of questions, I would say.
Yeah, so the question about whether there's precedence for the zoning commission answering questions or providing information on topics that the commission itself is not working on. I think actually among the 215 questions that we posted for Q&A, there are questions that were related to topics that the commission itself is not working on, but we indeed provided information about those.
Right.
So I think we have established a precedent that we can, in our documentation, provide information that is not specifically related to what the commission is doing, if that's responsive to questions that have been posed to the commission.
I think so too.
So
Michelle,
just to be clear, I'm suggesting that those 2 sections be included, Bill.
even though you would then have to edit them. Michelle?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, these are questions that have come up recently. I'm not sure people are going to wade through all of the 215 or some, 2,000 questions that are up on the website. And I think it's fine to reiterate things. I don't have any problem with repeating things as long as the information is consistent. So I say you've written them. They sound great. Let's keep them in.
And so where is this gonna be? This used to be a special.
I think I think we should add it to the questions and then put a note at the top that says here's an answer about what are resources that a lot of people have asked.
So this is in that block of,
Yeah.
here's the questions, and then there's, this is a special document prepared to answer a bunch. of
Yeah, and I think we
well-
could talk also about in the next quarterly newsletter, that you might include something about this, because it's a big area of question.
And I guess, so where I see this going, again, I'm hoping, Barb will be willing to take a look at the other bunch of words I've spewed out there. And then that it come back for full committee, like review and approval.
Yeah,
So as I said, give Barb her time, because, that way you'll have something that's pretty good form. And then if there's things you want to strike or change, I think that that's good. But if we can approve it, in addition to posting on the website, I would recommend that maybe at least an announcement go on the town listserv saying this has been posted, because things people are going to notice. Or, a PDF could even be, I don't know if it could be sent. I don't know if you can make attachments on, but at any rate, I think, yes, it should be pushed out a little bit. That's all I'm suggesting. So.
I agree. I'm going to move on to one topic, because Mr. Miller is here, and I would like us to at least to get to the section of the commercial areas on Route 79 that we had started to discuss, particularly the Deesner area and his question. So let's spend the next 15 minutes doing that. And we will not have finished the entire agenda, but happily, I believe that all of this is pretty much all we have left to do, besides setting up the time to have a public hearing. A public meeting and then a public hearing. Okay, can one of you put up the map that we are discussing?
Maybe, so I can do that. So Tarita, last meeting or the meeting before, we did discuss the Bessemer area, and I'd put up some maps of
Yeah.
possible changes there.
Yeah.
And they all failed. No one wanted to do them. So I wasn't sure, I can put those up again. And then we can discuss the area.
And just,
Because Michelle did have some thoughts about uses in the area and sent an email about that, but we did look, so let me see, I'll find that map, I'll put that map up, if that's what you want. I will
That would be
do
great.
that.
thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn my video off for a minute while I hunt and peck here.
Okay. And meanwhile, I will say that we are meeting next Tuesday, which is the 25th. And we will probably have to meet again on November 1st. Unless we finish next week and are able to decide when we're gonna set a time for a public information meeting. And maybe we can do that next week, because there really is not a huge amount left to set. To be done that we had on our list, and I sent out that list of the stuff that Bill had said that needed to be discussed, and then I added a few things to them. And then I added all the stuff that we're gonna say to the town board, like, here's a bunch of local laws that you're gonna have to think about rewriting or looking at. Because you don't have anything else to do, and I think there was even one other item in that list, which I don't remember what it was, but it was something. So the conservation subdivision information for next week. So what that would mean next week is we would do the rest of this commercial areas on 79, the outstanding issues from Article 5 through 14, which is not very much. And any outstanding issues from Articles 1 through 4, which may be a few more definitions. And that's about it. And then I think we have kind of wrapped this up. Okay, so let us discuss, this is the Landon Road, Bessemer area.
Right, so what I had proposed last time that we had extensive discussions about was one possible, not a focused commercial district like the one that is further west in this picture, but something more like an enhanced hamlet business district. And it might take up sort of this central region. I know it's a little hard to see, but sort of the red line here with
Yes,
possible extensions on the dotted lines. That was one option. And again, it took in from roughly the livery building out to Landon Road. What Mr. Miller, of course, has been asking is about this parcel here and also this parcel over here, which at the time, this was an option that did not include that. And I know he asked about the residences across the street. Here they are. Boom, 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 all off of this Hickory, whatever it is, not Lane or some cute name there. There was another option that I presented here, which rather than extending all the way over to the livery building was a tighter district that would include some area on the south side of 79 here, across from this residential area. And again, with an optional inclusion up there. And this would be like a Hamlet commercial type district. We didn't discuss, but I threw out, maybe there'd be 4,000 square foot businesses allowed, with up to a couple of buildings. We didn't really discuss in detail what that might mean. So those were presented and there was no second on either of those.
Michelle, you have expressed several times that you think that that you were talking about what businesses can occur in hamlets.
Yeah, so I sent that list. It's not actually, well, I mean, not very many businesses can occur in the Bessemer hamlet. If you wanted to make it a different kind of hamlet, there would be more. But I did send that list. There aren't very many. I'm going to say, I think it's a little bit odd to have the hamlet broken up by those two pieces of ag. And if you looked at that list that I sent about all the things that are allowed in the agricultural district, including CAFOs, that might be odd to have those in the middle of residential. So I think the whole thing should be Bessemer, but and I guess I can address some of the things that Mr. Miller said. I also think it's weird to just have these pockets, these odd little pockets of commercial or focus commercial, just because somebody wants to sell their land for that. I think it makes sense to have that whole thing be Bessemer, but what is allowed in Bessemer could be up for discussion.
So is what you're saying, everything within the red line, you would include in Bessemer? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. That's just my opinion. I'm just saying that.
And this parcel here is deep. I believe it does go all the way down to here, I believe.
Yes, I think
So
you're right.
this would be cutting that off or not, so. The parcel on the south side of 79 down into again, this is crosshatching is prime farmland and slashes is the water resource overlay.
Right. Meaning that in parts of those things you couldn't build no matter what.
Yeah, this lower, yeah, the water overlay, and then in this area, we, again, are trying to preserve the best farmland in town. So that was why, indeed, I didn't draw that down there, but it could be. It's hard to sort of say, I think there is, when we get to looking at the eastern part of Caroline, there's, that it may help to be looking at the two at the same time, but let's see how far we can get on this one right now.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion about this area?
I would like to say something first.
Okay,
I believe if you're looking at 79, this is already heavy commercial with what's there. You have the storage units, you have the solar farm, you have the apartments, you have the businesses down below. And if you look at the east end, we're talking about agriculture. The only commercial is data. The rest of it is cornfields and hayfields. So I think we're talking around in circles here. If we're trying to create ag, this is ag, and we're gonna make it commercial, and this is not ag, and we're gonna make it a hamlet. When this is heavy commercial already.
so having said that, do you want to offer a motion?
No,
I think,
Okay,
I think Michelle raised her hand again.
oh, Michelle? Michelle?
You're on mute.
I'm getting it. I also want to point out that I sent that thing that Dryden, which borders this area, is all zoned as residential.
Right.
So zoning this whole thing like Beesmer would be consistent for the rest of Route 79.
Ernie, what does medium density
Well,
residential mean?
I don't know exactly what that designation is in the town of Dryden, but it was a higher density of the development than their ag residential. So I don't know exactly what those are, but I do agree with Michelle that it's appropriate to look at the adjacent zones we had a long time ago. I'm gonna make a motion, which is that we include these bridge parcels, as we're calling them, in the Beesmer hamlet, with the same restrictions. So there's kind of a limited commercial development, and do that by continuing the olive green line straight to the west on the south side of 79 and following the town line along the north side. So that is my motion.
I'm willing to second that motion.
Okay, so Ernie has moved.
I'd like to see it. So I know what you're talking about.
We'll show you here.
Exactly what you drawn right here.
Exactly what you
All
drawn.
that, yeah, and all that in the public hearing.
Yeah,
And I'll just make a comment to, Michelle had said that, the medium residential, Bernie's describing it, is the part of Dryden on 79 going west of the town line. But Dryden has also designated ag residential for the lands adjacent, to what, to the north side of the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah.
so this up here where it says option B, mixed use hamlet, you're saying is ag residential?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor.
Bill's got it.
I see Bill.
Yeah, I mean, that was old from before and we've moved on in the discussion. So I would think I will want to discuss Ernie's motion. Let me draw my thoughts together. So I will lower my hand for now.
Okay.
As I tried to.
Sorry, Bill.
I'm gonna suggest that we table this motion until next week, because I think we would all like to go back and look. I would certainly like to go back and look at what is allowed in the Beesmer hamlet. Going more specific about that, and it's only a week away.
Yeah.
And then we can come back and look at this, and then look at the East Sladeville part and finish the Route 79 discussion of commercial. If that's acceptable to everyone.
Bill's hand went back up.
Bill,
Yes. So, and that's fine. I guess I wanted to point out, yes, we need to look at the uses because, in a certain sense, as Michelle has pointed out, being part of the Beesmer hamlet, if that use table is not changed, is a more restrictive condition than being in the ag rural, because there are literally more business opportunities. So, however, the housing density is greater. So it does depend, the reason much of this is Beesmer hamlet is because we foresee this as being attractive housing options, despite being on this noisy, busy road. Housing is going in along it. And so it does mean that a landowner here, if they're now studying the Beesmer hamlet, could conceivably develop their parcel or sell their parcel to a developer who's going to build a bunch of residences. And therefore it might have quite a bit of value that way. On the other hand, if it's a landowner who wants to sell to a commercial business, that would give them fewer options. So it's, I think our task is to look at the land and what makes sense for the land and not necessarily bow or kowtow to each particular landowner. I think it's important to hear what they have to say and do our best to accommodate.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point out that there is that intentionally the Beesmer hamlet is very residential. And
Yeah.
so making the change has repercussions for the kind of uses there. We should all be very aware of that.
Okay, so let us, I'm offering that we table the motion. Is that acceptable for everyone? All in favor, say aye. Okay. so
Aye.
Motion until next week. I have one question about this map, which is what is this pale blue rectangle?
Oh, I just put that, I was trying to figure out how to comment and draw a line. And I did this to help indicate where Ernie was suggesting that that border go across.
Okay,
So
that
at any rate, so now everything's blue and nothing's blue. So that's all.
Great, okay, that makes sense. I was like, was there a swimming pool that I did not notice?
Pesky
One
wetland.
quick
Yes.
question.
Okay,
Did we ever get an answer from any of the letters you sent for?
no one has responded to the letters that we sent. Okay, and
That's
that's,
what I was wondering if we should.
I think, yeah, I don't, I think.
Just thought I'd ask, I didn't think you did.
Okay,
Nancy.
so I see Nan's hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that if you ultimately decide that you want that to be some new district, that we have to then go back to the use table and decide what uses are allowed in that district and the dimensions table, and identify what the dimensions that you want. We would need to develop a purpose statement for that area. So, just so that you know, it's not just a mapping exercise, but there would be decisions to make from a variety of locations in the text.
Okay,
And I think what's on the table right now, Nan, is my suggestions of maybe making a new Hamlet district that had more commercial uses has been torpedoed. No second, no one wanted to go there.
Right.
What we're looking at is extending the Beesimer Hamlet, which is a
Right.
different thing, but
Right,
possibly, yeah, okay, possibly changing the uses of
yeah.
Beesimer.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
sorry,
get that. I just wanted to remind everyone what creating a new district would entail.
okay, so with that, we are meeting next Tuesday. And on November 1st, I think we actually can finish most of our work up next Tuesday. We might use November 1st to discuss what we were gonna be doing in a public information meeting and when that would be.
Next Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think we might be able to do a lot of this next week.
Okay,
We really don't have that much stuff to finish up.
so then maybe we could plan on the newsletter going out the next week after that.
That would be terrific.
Any information you want in
Yeah.
there. So,
Good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We will have the conferring of the doctoral degree and the master's degree, probably sometime in December. Everyone get out their photos. Thank you, everyone, tonight.
Yeah.
We are adjourning at
Thank
9,
you for all your work.
yes.